Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Thank you for stopping by to take a look. In today's video, I'm going to be opening another package from Japan. This is package number 4. This one actually is the largest package I've ordered to date. There are 7 objects, either prints or books, contained within. Let's get going. This is the first time I've received such a large package, so I'm not sure how it's laid out inside. We'll be finding that out together. But should be mostly Kuchi-e, I would imagine. That's usually what I'm purchasing at this point. I do buy other types of prints, but Kuchi-e are my number one collectible that I'm collecting at the moment. And I do collect ukiyo-e sometimes as well. So it's possible there could be ukiyo-e in here. Okay, I think I'm going to take all the pieces out. Make sure there's nothing in the box. The box is empty. Let's lay these out over here. Let's go one by one. Okay, let's start with this. Looks like it might be 2 books of some kind. So let me adjust this down a little bit. There we go. Okay. So let's get right into it. I'm not sure what I ordered. This package has actually been sitting here on my floor for over a month and a half, maybe 2 months at this point. Like I said in my previous videos, I've just been trying to save up these packages so I could open them on camera, but it took me a while to kind of get moving. So let's see. Okay, we have 2 books here. Oh, interesting. I thought there was something actually on there, but it's actually printed on. That's pretty cool. Okay, let's start with this one. So this is clearly a standard type of book that you would find. This, I believe, actually is the most popular literary magazine. Was called Bunge or Bunge Karabu, and I believe this is that. So this is Bunge or Bunjai Karabu, I believe. It says here on the front, second class, 21 yen, Shinbashi to Omori. So it's like a ticket stub. It's kind of cute and well made. Interesting design aesthetic. So let's, we get right into it, I guess. Okay, oh yeah, oh wow, yeah, I love this print. Okay, this print is by Kajita Hanko. This is a beautiful design. I think this design, among all the designs I have, is one of the most representative of the Art Nouveau style. When this was created, Art Nouveau was in its peak. Art Nouveau was also printed during the same period as these prints were being created. So I am certain there was cross-cultural influence. There was, Alphonse Mucha was one of the most popular artists from France. Well, he lived in France, I believe, at the time anyway. But he wasn't French; he was Hungarian. But anyway, he made a lot of the most well-known, the most well-documented art pieces that are in the Art Nouveau style, and he was definitely influenced by the Japanese. It's a known fact that he was interested in Japanese art. Same thing with a lot of the Impressionists, Monet, Renoir. All these people had Japanese woodblock print collections. So I don't see any reason why it wouldn't go across the pond both ways, from Japan to Europe and from Europe back to Japan, and same thing with the United States. This is a really beautiful image. It doesn't have a lot of special printing technique to it. It's just beautifully designed. The colors are nice. And again, as we saw in one of my previous videos, there's this feather kind of collar applique that women were definitely wearing. They were more of a modern Japanese woman at the time. So here we have a beautiful tree coming across the screen to divide the artwork across. The signature is down here on the lower right. That is the signature of Kajita Hanko. There's also a seal, obviously. His seal is here as well. Kajita Hanko is one of my favorite artists, and I do have several copies of this particular design. But when I see them in good condition, I try to buy them because I feel like they're eventually not going to be available. So, and this is the first copy I've had that was actually inside the book that it came in. So that's really interesting. This book itself actually looks like it has a lot of art scattered throughout as well. Let's flip through and see if there's anything else interesting inside here. Yeah, advertisements. So this is, oh, look at, here's a page talking about wedding rings. This book would have been published either late 19th century, very early 20th century. So probably 1905, 1903, 1906, right in there somewhere. Could have been as early as 1899, 1898. But I'm not certain. I don't have the date with me at this point in time. So anyway, I will put the notes about the prints that we find here in the description of this video. So if you're interested and you want to try to find a copy for yourself, pretty much you could just research Kajita Hanko, Kajita, and the last name is Hanko. I shouldn't say the last name. But yes, Hanko Kajita or Kajita Hanko. If you search that and you search the word Kuchi-e, Kuchi-E, you can come up with a lot of Kajita Hanko designs, and you're certain to find one of this design at some point if you desire to search for it. You'll eventually find it because they're pretty common as this design goes, in the sense that you can usually find them, once or twice a year they come up. Here's another book. I am not certain if it's the same company, but I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah. So this is also going to be Bunjai Karabu. Same title on the spine here. This one has a very interesting monkey and a very interesting rooster, which makes me wonder if this one was published around the turn of the new year. So, the monkey's coming in and the rooster's going, or the monkey's coming and the rooster's coming. I don't know. It seems like it could have a New Year's reference to me. Although I'm not certain. So yeah, so these literary magazines were very popular. I have read that there could have been as many as 10 to 20,000 issues for some of these books when it was at its peak. I don't know when they would consider it to be the peak, but oh yeah, this is another fantastic design. So this design is by Kaburaki Kiyokata. This is another beautiful design, and I feel very fortunate to have gotten both of these. And you can see that they're both really nice, very well printed. Here we have a woman who looks like she's doing some sort of typical house type stuff, maybe like working around the house, folding laundry, or I don't know. I can't tell what she's doing, but she's just wearing basically a young beauty. When I say the word beauty, that's how they refer to young, beautiful women in woodblock prints. They're always referred to as beauties. So when I say beauty, it's not my affectation. That's just the way they're referred to in woodblock prints. And she's wearing a more traditional type of kimono. She has this blue and white themed head scarf or head wrapping that she has. And this actually has a meaning. I cannot remember what it is off the top of my head, but actually there is some sort of a reference there. I can't remember it right now. Here we have the signature of Kiyokata, and with a seal of Kiyokata below. We can see on the back the bleed through of the ink work coming through the washi paper. So yeah, very nice design. Also, as you can see, many of the fantastic designs that were available came from this magazine. This magazine had some really fantastic artists working for them. Actually, we have something here. I'm not sure what it is. Oh, it's maybe an image. I don't know. Yeah, some sort of an advertisement. So yeah, so the book will basically have a lot of advertisements inside of it. Here we have another rooster theme. I'm thinking that probably this is a New Year edition. So maybe the New Year's was coming, and probably the year of the rooster was going to be coming around. Or it could have been outgoing, so it's either way, I suppose. Some other random drawings. Sometimes there are drawings by artists like Kiyokata or Hirosaki Eiho. So there could be other nice images within some of these stories to help the story along. But I've actually read and heard that oftentimes the artwork does not relate directly to any story, because there was no time for the artist to read the story before before they were able to do the artwork. So the artwork they only had a loose interpretation. So they might say, you know, oh, there's going to be a beach scene, and so they would draw something at the beach. So yeah, it's a little bit challenging for those artists to be on point with their art designs when they don't actually have a way to know what the story is going to say. I do presume that at this point in time, most artists could read. So, but it's possible that some of them could not. I actually don't know. I haven't read much about that. I presume that most of them could read. Okay, this one is packaged in a different kind of way. So typically, some of these probably come from various sellers. Like, just because I'm buying them through a site doesn't mean that they all come from the same exact place. This is another book, looks like. From what I recall, one of the books in here I actually paid quite a lot for. Definitely on the higher end of my price range for Kuchi-e. Typically, I will pay those kind of prices for exceptional designs or designs that are, let me lower this down just a tad, or designs that are, you know, particularly rare, especially. I mean, honestly, the combination is what you want. You want a combination of a book that's both rare and in excellent condition. That's the best situation for any kind of print you can buy, especially if it's contained within the book. But in any event, you always want the best possible condition if it's at all possible. Japanese woodblock prints are very much so designed and sold based on the quality of the print that's remaining. You will oftentimes find prints where the margins have been taken off. You'll find prints where there's no margins at all. It'll just be the print. And the issue with some of those things is that the prints have been reprinted at some point, which most Kuchi-e actually have not. There are only a handful of reprinted Kuchi-e, and they mostly have been reprinted in larger sizes than the original, so it's easy to tell the difference between them. So that's a nice thing that you know, that we know. Whereas a lot of the ukiyo-e, which is the prints that came from the, you know, the 18th, 19th century, like more like kabuki prints and landscape prints from Hiroshige and Hokusai. Excuse me, I had to wet my whistle. Those prints are very, very much so reprinted, and you have to know exactly what you're looking for in order to... Okay, here we have another design by Kaburaki Kiyokata. This one is extremely rare. I haven't seen it ever for sale before. That's the reason I paid a high price for this. It's not in perfect condition, but actually it's in pretty decent condition. There is some staining right here, which obviously came through from this cover. So the cover got wet at some point, transferred through this cover, through here, and eventually ended up here, unfortunately. Although it's minor, and thankfully the design itself is so dark that if you framed this ever, or if someone was to frame it, they could actually frame that red spot right out. So anyway, so here you have a situation where there's two women that are fighting. This is not a common theme. It's very uncommon, as a matter of fact. Having any kind of violence is overall exceptionally rare. Certainly if you go back to the 18th and 19th century ukiyo-e woodblock prints, you're going to find more violence because there was a lot of samurai. There was a lot of tales of samurai. There's a lot of mythological stories that are about samurai. So of course there's a lot of sword play. There's a lot of people holding swords. There's a lot of kind of overall acting scenes where you might see a bunch of people scattered across a field holding swords, running at each other. But to find actual violence where people are kind of up close and more intimate, like an intimate form of violence, this is definitely the most intimate kind of violence you're going to find in any kind of print. And this is the thing I like about Kuchi-e. So the thing about Kuchi-e that are special in my eyes is there's an overarching sense of menace in some of the prints that you don't find too much in the earlier printing genres. I believe that the earlier genres, while there is menace, it's overt. It's very like in your face. Like yes, it's a menace, but the guy's got a bloody knife and you have a bloody neck. Like it's a kind of a direct link between the bloody knife and the bloody neck, you know. And you do have some of that menace with Yoshitoshi. Yoshitoshi was a fantastic artist. He had a lot of menace in some of his works. But Kuchi-e, when they get the menace right, it looks like this. To me, this is about as good as it gets. This is a fantastic scene of two women fighting. This one actually has a knife. It's hard to see unless you get up close, but this woman has a knife in her hand. So she's actually trying to harm, like really injure and damage this other person. I don't know the story, so I'm gonna have to look into that. This print, like I said, is very uncommon. I don't know the story. I've never seen it for sale before, but it's an extremely rare design. This is an early Kiyokata signature. So I don't have the exact date yet. I'm gonna have to look that up. I will put all the print details in the description for anyone who's interested. But this is a fantastic design. A little bit of something here, like a little discoloration, a little bit more of the pink actually transferred onto this part. But overall, this is in decent condition. I would expect this print, were it in a retail setting, to be between $550 and $750 at least, maybe even more. But it's such a rare design and it's such an interesting, dynamic, you know, beautiful design, and the faces reflect really well what's going on. Just really nicely done. The the bleed through is very obvious in this print, comes through very well. So yeah, it's a fantastic print, beautiful design. No other interesting elements to the book, so that's pretty much it. It's just this one print, but beautiful print nonetheless. Okay, let me see what else we have. So it looks like I have a couple. Let's see, we've opened 3, so there should be 4 more things. Let's see what they are. Excuse me, I'm going to raise this camera up a little bit. Okay. There we go. Please let me know in the comments if any of you collect Kuchi-e. I'm curious to know how many people are interested in Kuchi-e specifically. I did notice the prices for Kuchi-e are extremely high. They're going much, much higher all the time. Some galleries are routinely selling them for $700 plus now. And I'm very interested by this. I'm curious. I've been collecting them for, like I said, I think it's been about 14 years now. So for 13 to 14 years, I have been collecting these prints. And the market was not hot at the beginning. They were almost kind of not really well known. There's one author. Her name is Nanako Yamada, or Yamada Nanako. And she wrote a book called Kuchi-e, and it's about the woodblock frontispieces. So she was kind of the first person to spearhead the interest in these particular prints. And the interesting thing about Kuchi-e compared to ukiyo-e or shinhanga and these other kind of prints that have become much so more popular in the United States and throughout the world is that Kuchi-e somehow got missed. So Kuchi-e, I don't know how it happened, but they got missed. So the way that the periods go, the way that the way that the dating periods for each genre of woodblock prints goes from Japan is that they started off with, oh, that's beautiful. They started off with ukiyo-e. So ukiyo-e started, you know, with as far as being collected, that covers a period from like 1750, let's say, through 1860, something like that. People that were hardcore collectors of ukiyo-e, they called it, they said in the they thought, so the early collectors actually thought that anything starting with 1901 or, anything out of the 18th century, they thought was garish and they thought it was not attractive. And so they started referring to these prints with these brighter colors as degenerative art. They said it was degenerative prints. They were degenerative designs, which I think is funny because those prints are widely collected today, and I don't think any of the people collecting them think of them as degenerative designs or that the colors are particularly horrible. Now, past the 1868, there is an explosion of reds that happens in ukiyo-e prints. They are still considered ukiyo-e up until the period where Kuchi-e takes off, which is, like I said, it's about 1890 or so, maybe a little bit before that. But these designs are very much so different. And I lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. In any event, there's different genres. So the first genre that people collected was like the very, very early ukiyo-e, which would have been, you know, like I said, 1760, let's say, which is like Suzuki Harunobu and those artists, going forward to Utagawa Konosada, Toyokuni 1, which was also pre-1800, so pre-1800. The popular artists were, you know, Toyokuni 1, Utamaro, and Suzuki Harunobu. There's a whole range of them. Those artists were collected by the first range of Western collectors. The Western collectors came in, they collected those. The next range was people collecting the artists like Utagawa Konosada, which started, I believe, around like the teens of like 18 teens. So let's say 18, 12, 13, something like that. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but Utagawa Konosada was a student of Toyokuni 1. Later on, he tried to take the name by force, actually, which is quite an interesting story, of Toyokuni 2, but there already was a Toyokuni the second. And so, I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually burnishing on this hair right here. It's difficult for me to see whether the camera's picking it up. And actually, I gave it a wrong description of how burnishing works. So the way burnishing works is this hair already had black ink on it. And then they took the burnishing plate, which was the plate with this hair design on top of it, and they basically put this down on a thing with no ink. So they put it down on a design with these hair grooves in it, and then they would make this over. It would go this way. So they put it on top like this. The printer plate is where my hand is. They would rub this on, and it would create these shiny surfaces on the hair. And those shiny surfaces are actually they're just created by pressure. So there actually is no ink involved other than the original black ink. So it's very interesting. Anyway, so those prints were the first ones collected. Those were collected up until, like I said, about 1868. Those ran from, you know, so that's another genre of collection. Still ukiyo-e, but definitely later. Then, you know, you have Yoshitoshi, which brings in a lot of more kind of like a little bit of violence. There's a lot of military prints, so that's another genre. So you have all these genres. You have landscapes, you have warrior prints, you have actor prints, but all of those are under the umbrella of ukiyo-e. So ukiyo-e covers actors, covers landscapes, covers just a whole bunch of different genres, subgenres of ukiyo-e prints. Kuchi-es are not part of the ukiyo-e experience. This happens during a totally different time of Japanese history, and they have a very different vibe and a very different feel. So this, like I said, so ukiyo-e basically died around 1878, 1880. At that point, the prints were being published. They were very poor quality, mostly probably for foreign tourists. Like nobody was really buying those for any sort of an investment or to hold on to them because they were amazing, because they weren't that amazing at that point. They were a lot of just poorly printed garish designs. And those prints kind of ended ukiyo-e. So after ukiyo-e, the period that came in at that point, this is ukiyo-e, then became shinhanga. So shinhanga came in. Shinhanga, I believe, is new, so new prints. New prints came in, like I said, around late 19th century and early 20th century. So starting with Kobayashi Kiyokata, so he was one of the first people to do it. There was a lot of other artists. Eventually, though, Watanabe started publishing, like Hasui Kawase and Shiro Kasamatsu, and those artists, and Hiroake Shote, those artists then started the Shinhanga movement. So what happened was, in the middle there, between ukiyo-e and Shinhanga, these prints were missed. And they somehow just didn't get picked up. So they didn't get picked up by collectors, and they didn't start being collected outside of Japan, basically hardly at all. There were some, thankfully, who were interested, and so some museums, like the Klo collection, which I talk about in my last video, that Klo collection, oh, by the way, YouTube will not let me put any links into my auctions currently. So because of that, this is how I store my prints in case anybody's interested. Because of that, you have to search whatever I'm asking you to look for. So if I say, check out the Clo collection in Australia, then you have to go research it. But I did put the name of the collection and how you can take a look at it if you're interested. This is how I store my prints. This company, Blick Arts, has a very inexpensive books of these. These are acid-free collectible books, and for collecting, you know, archival materials or any kind of, just anything collectible that's flat, basically. But essentially, these can be purchased at their site for around $10 or less. If you try to buy these from, you know, Itoe, or I don't know how you pronounce the name, but there's some Japanese companies that make these kind of folders. There's no difference really between them, and they are substantially more expensive, like 4 or 5 times the cost. But the last time I went to Blick to buy these, because we have a store locally where I live, they were out of stock, and they told me they were not going to be restocking them. So if anybody's interested in these, I suggest you go buy some. They have them in the 9x12 size, and they have a 11x17 size, which fits full-size ukiyo-e, and it's a very inexpensive way to safely store your designs, and so they don't get damaged. So there you go. Moving on to the next print. So anyway, yeah, somehow Kuchi-e were missed. I don't know how it happened, but it did happen. And until Nanako Yamada brought out her book, there was like very little interest. Since the printing of that book, which I think happened in 2005 maybe, it's been a lot of interest in Kuchi-e prints, and the price has steadily been rising. I started becoming interested in these, like I said, in 2010. I started collecting in 2010. At that time, you could buy these prints fairly reasonably and fairly easily for around $15 to $25. This is a fantastic design. This is Mizuno Toshikata, and it's a beautiful design showing a beauty kind of hanging off this ledge. It's actually a really nicely done print. It's very thickly backed. Like I said in my previous videos, I don't actually mind the backing. I think it makes the prints stay in better condition. This one is interesting though. So you see the backing actually has a separation here. So very easily I could remove this. I don't know if I will, because like I said, I don't mind the backing. I think the backing, some of the prints I've found that were 150 to 200 years old are in the best type of condition because they were backed. The backing keeps them firm. It doesn't allow small rips and tears. It doesn't allow, it doesn't, I mean, okay, it doesn't not allow creasing, but it makes creasing less common, less likely. So yeah, this print is, like I said, around 1900. So it's around 125 years old or so. There's the signature of Mizuno Toshikata here. There's the seal of Mizuno Toshikata. And, but yeah, you see there's a beauty here, and very, very nice print. Shows she's basically falling down the side of a cliff, it looks like, and she's dropped her torch, which has left this smoky flame here. Beautiful print. Again, you can't really see the back, so not much to talk about the back. I don't know if I'll remove this or not. I do prefer them not to have it if I have a choice between the two. But the reality is it keeps them in good shape, and I don't think it damages the value to me. So, in any event, I move on. Oh, I wanted to finish the thought I had last time about Fuji Arts. I had mentioned Fuji Arts in my last video, and I kind of stopped talking about them when I said, oh, they sometimes carry prints of like lesser qualities and stuff. They actually have fine quality prints at times as well. I didn't mean to leave it saying that they don't do a good job. I think they do a fantastic job. I've gotten some amazing designs there for some very reasonable prices. So I don't mean to knock Fuji Arts. I buy from them quite often. They do update their site religiously, like almost daily, basically. I think maybe because sorry, let me raise my camera up. They do update maybe daily. Like I said, they sell thousands of prints a year. They're one of the largest sites. So in the past, I said I don't cut between these two boxes, and here's exactly why. So you can see here, this print, this prints are actually right here on the edge. So yeah, so that's why I don't do that. So anyway, let's see what we have here. Looks like I have two more designs. Okay, first design is also, I believe this is also Mizuno Toshikata, although I'm not 100% sure because I don't recognize the signature off the top of my head. This also could be Tomioka Eisen. I'll have to look that one up. But I will make a listing for it so you, to let people know what the print is, what the name is if I can find it, and definitely the artist name. So this print's also very beautiful, nice print. It has a little bit of a discoloration right here, but honestly, other than that, it's actually in great condition. It has a very interesting blind printing right here. I don't know if you can see that, but it has actually, it's where they don't use any color, but they give it basically indentation lines, and that allows it to have like a textural quality, and it gives extra elements to the work. The hair in this print has burnishing, which I'm not sure if you guys can see the burnishing. There it is, the burnishing on the hair there. That shiny, this shiny line work, it's really beautiful in person. But this print spared no expense to make these. It has all the hallmarks of a fantastically designed woodblock, which is what I was previously saying about prints from this era. All these artisans needed work, and they were available because ukiyo-e ended. And the advent of photography and lithography came in at the exact same time. So publishing, advertising, newspapers, all those woodblock printers were needing work, and this was available, so the quality is just unbelievable for these prints. Which is why it's so surprising that it took so long for them to become popular. They clearly had the design aesthetic, they had the printer aesthetic. This one is also backed, it's lightly backed, it has a light paper backing. Again, I don't mind. I like to see the bleed through because it's beautiful, but I don't need it. And honestly, the print is probably, again, in better condition because someone backed it, 100 years ago when they took it out of the book. Okay, moving on to the last design. This is the last design. This design is also by Toshikata, although I'm not sure if that second one is Toshikata, but this one is definitely Toshikata, Mizuno Toshikata. He was one of the more prolific artists. He did many, many designs of Kuchi-e. He was definitely one of the top artists at the time. I'm not saying I think his designs are all the top designs. I think he had some incredible designs, and I think he became so popular, he also ended up with some ho-hum designs. This does not happen to be one of them. This design is extremely popular with collectors. Does have a couple of holes here at the top. One of the things, if you're an avid woodblock collector for any length of time, you'll know that wormage, there's like some kind of moth or worm that causes these little holes in books that were from Japan, was a real issue in Japan. And if you, I bought an album one time with, I don't know, like 60 or 80 prints by Kunayoshi in it, and right along the binding, so I couldn't see it. The book was closed when I purchased it, and it was string bound, so there was no way to see where the bindings were pressed together. When I took that book apart, there was wormage, and I didn't lose money necessarily because I was able to make repairs on some of them. Luckily, some of the main prints that were the ones that I was buying that album for, they were not damaged, and I was able to make all my money back on one print, actually. So I had one amazing Kunayoshi print, and the amount I paid for the entire album I got back from the sale of that one single print. So, it wasn't really much of a loss for me, but I have had to do a lot of work to make repairs to some of those designs in order to make them collectible. So in any event, back to this design. So this is Mizuno Toshikata, beautiful design of a woman either writing or drawing. She's clearly in a nature setting. The background is beautiful. She's outside in her like kimono. She has an umbrella, most likely for the sun because it doesn't look rainy. So it's just an aesthetic to have the umbrella at this time period. Beautiful. It's got either a pencil or maybe a sumi brush, although I don't see any ink, so it's hard to tell. Hair is very beautifully done in sort of like a Western European style, which was very popular at this time. Deep, deep maroon dress, very beautiful, and these purple accents and lavender accents, very uncommon in woodblocks to see lavender and purple and maroon. But this period brought in a lot of those beautiful colors. And then the background has this almost watercolor quality. There's no outlines, so you're just getting the effect of the color blocking with the bokashi, which is that light shading where it goes from dark to light. So you're getting this incredibly beautiful transition from thicker paint to less paint, but it makes this kind of fading so incredibly available, and it's very well used at this period. So this print is amazing, lovely design. It's on the cover of several books because it's so popular. But here you have the bleed through, so there's no backing on this one, and the bleed through is so beautiful. This is what woodblock prints look like from the back. So when anyone says, well, how do you tell if it's a genuine woodblock? You should just be able to flip it over if you can, and if you see this and it looks like this, all these lines here were created by the guy rubbing the baron, which is this round tool they used to press the ink. So the way Japanese did their printing, the block was face up. This paper would be slightly wet. Mokuhanga is a type of printing. It means wet printing, I believe. And you basically would take it, you set this print on top of the block like so. There would be these little cutouts to kind of hold them in place, and they would like wet them down. And then they would just do this on whatever color they were working on. And every one of these lines is that master artisan crossing this thing as he pushes the ink from the block and the ink through into the paper. And every single block was handmade by some artisan. The people who created this were true masters. This is, you know, about as good as it gets. Amazing to me. Beautiful and amazing. So there you have it. Those are all the items that were in today's unpacking. I hope you enjoyed the video. I realize I'm verbose. I tend to talk a lot while I do these videos. Hopefully that doesn't bother any of you. If it does, you can just mute me. But yeah, I like to talk about Japanese woodblock prints, and this is the outlet I have to do it. That's why I'm making these videos, because I like to talk about woodblock prints, and I just don't have that many people to talk about them with. So here you go. Several prints by Mizuno Toshikata today, more than I was expecting. A couple of fantastic designs. That design by Kiyokata is particularly rare and amazing. This design is more common. You can find this design, but this is almost the best condition design I've seen. I have 3 copies of this print. Maybe I'll do a comparison video sometime so people can see the difference. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Everybody have a great day. And if you like my videos, please subscribe. I'm going to try and post once a week. And I'll try to put the print images down underneath my video description if you're interested in finding out about these prints. Have a great day. Thanks.